It works really well for my little mare. Just not so. So, where's my scissors? These guys, you have to pay 8 cents a bag for them here in Washington because 8 cents a bag makes the environment get saved, right? It saves the environment. So, I found a video on how to iron these together and make things. So, we're going to make a horse soaking bag. So, first I need to make sheets. So, cut off the handles. I already got one off. And then we cut the bottom, straighten it all out. There's a little seam on the bottom. Cut that off real quick. These are really thick bags, so they're not like the other bags. They're supposed to be reusable, but you know what? We still wind up buying a bunch of bags, so come down. I have a little can up here to throw all my waste things away. And then that makes a tube, and then we split that in half. So I make a soaking bag anyway out of these, and I put about 4 or 5 of them together, and I have another video in my videos on how to do that. But yeah, then you have this to work with. So I'm going to make 4 for each side. It's going to be a square bag, and then it'll be 4 layers deep, and then that should be long enough for my draft horse to stick his foot in and give me room to either duct tape around or something. So okay, so my this is hard to feel. My iron is plugged in, been plugged in for a while, and my setting is pretty high. I want to say rayon wool. You got to keep this thing moving. No steam. And I cut a brown paper bag and put it underneath, and there's a piece of cardboard to save my table. And I've got my pieces cut. And I don't have any wax paper or contact paper, so I tried it with another brown bag, and I figured it would at least get stuck to the brown bag, and I can peel that off or wash that off later. So, anyway, I can only do one half at a time, and lay it out here like I there, and make it even on this end, because it might move a little. So, and then we lay, what side have I been using? I've been having this side up, and I've been not sticking very much, so that's good. It peels off if it's still warm. So, anyway, and we get the iron and keep it moving, or it burns a hole in it. And yes, I have my jam on today. So, I'll get the other half later. Anyway, I go over it like 2 or 3 times. Definitely keep it moving. Get your edges. This is much easier with 2 hands. Should probably have ventilation because you start smelling plastic a little bit. Okay. Let's check it and see if it's gonna be stuck. This is layer number 6. So that's sticking to my stuff a little bit. pretty well sticking. It comes off some, but over the next layers it pretty well sticks. So anyway, you gotta warm it up and it'll come off. So. Anyway, I gotta cook it a little more. But anyway, that's the basic process. And then it peels off when it's warm. Okay, so I got this end done and I gotta do the other side. I have 6 pieces on here, and I did kind of cook a hole into that last piece trying to get the paper off. So, you know, it's not perfect, but kind of got to heat it up to get the pieces off. Anyway, we'll give this a shot. It didn't cost me anything. Okay, I did both ends, and this one I didn't lay down the plastic one at a time. So, like, you can tell which end I did one at a time and which one I didn't. This one is smoother, but on the bottom end, yeah, on the bottom end of the one I only did once, you've still got kind of a, you know, but we have to turn it over and do it anyway and get it good and glued together. So, back side now. And then, this is 6 pieces. Six pieces, and then keep it moving. So now we take the edges and roll them over because this is going to be the top. It's going to be a short boot, and my draft is huge, so I'm going to roll this over and make a seam first. Makes it strong. So this one I want to be pretty well melted down. I think I skipped a step. Anyway, this was the long piece, and I folded it over in half, about as big as my horse's hooves, and I ironed the end of it, and then I folded the end over and ironed that again. So now we make the place for the bottom by cutting little strips, because these are going to fold up on the bottom onto the round part. It's going to be a little short, but it might go in my mirror. My first time. So, the sole. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 long pieces, which I'm going to fold over by 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. So that'll make 12 layers on the bottom sole. So, and my paper bag is getting a little much, but I'm going to try just doing it all at once this time instead of one layer at a time. Here's my foot. This is going to go like this. And these are going to fold down like that. So I fold it like that. We got the flat piece on the bottom, which is 12 layers. And we got the top. Now, I draw around it with Sharpie. In a rough circle. circle. Okay, so the actual circle is about like that. The actual circle, I want to cut it even bigger than that. I want to make that about like that, and then cut. No, I'm not going to cut. I'm going to stick those onto that. So, I'm going to get off of here. Okay, I'm just the sticking to it stage, so it's stuck to it. Now I got to turn it around and do the other side. So, this is why I use contact paper and not brown paper. This is getting a bit melted and it's stuck, which if you time it just right, it won't. But you really should use contact paper. But I'm going to start cutting some of this off so that I don't have the same problem here. So put it on there like that and work your way around. So when you're done, you have this thing that looks a bit like a top hat. And it's still not waterproof just yet. So we're going to fold this down onto. First we take this guy. And these are going to fold over like this. So, and hopefully we'll hold it pretty good. And we're going to put that on there like that. And hopefully not burn ourselves. So it's done, mostly. It does leak a little, but I'm going to put a bag liner in there. There's a pad, and I just have it wedged in there. I might glue it later if it floats, but it's a piece of yoga mat in a circle. And it looks like, because how I ironed it, it's going to be maybe small for my big boy, but I know it'll fit my little girl. And then this has a liner on the top for comfort from one of my husband's old socks, so it doesn't scratch them. And then I got an old shoestring. There, I got an old shoestring. I'm gonna go and put the shoestring through the sock pieces. It's not meant to hold weight, it's meant to squeeze it. Now I might add to that, this was hot glued together. I don't sew this tough things like this. I suppose I could. I know how to do leather work. This would be okay. I was gonna run the string through this thing, but I made it too small. I'm starting to mess it up. Anyway, put a liner in there, and the idea is to stick it on his foot and do like that. And then he can't get it off, right? So, got my Epsom salts, got my liner. I'm not going to put the water in until I put it on his foot. Well, that's not irritating at all. I don't know why, but it's still leaking pretty bad, actually. I put a liner in it, even. I was trying to avoid using 5 or 6 plastic bags, and they were a pain in the butt to get on there. This was actually pretty nice to get on there, but it's still leaking. So, not sure what's going on there. Well, I wouldn't call it a complete fail. He's still keeping enough water in there to cover everything up. So, it's leaking, but it seems to be leaking because it's crooked. That was the same problem I was having with just using plastic bags, but they were a lot harder to tie. And I had to put the water in first and then get his foot in there. And this way I just poured the water in from a bucket. So that part was easier. Well, it's as I suspected. It works really well for my little mare. Just not so much for my big boy. Huh. He's a little bit bigger than she is, being part Belgian draft. Yeah.